Hey, so yeah, I'm Sean. I'm the lead instructor at Carolina Code School. Also, yeah, I'm responsible for the QR code on your badges. If it doesn't scan that, I'm not responsible for it. I didn't print them, I just created them. Stinking Badges is an app that actually credit to Barry. He and I sat down when he was planning this and put that together, and it allows for the sponsors or anybody that has registered in the app to scan that QR code, and then it will save that contact information so you know who you met, where, and when. That's what it's designed to do. Business cards suck, so get some stinking badges. There's the pitch for that one, right? Not bad for a 3-week pitch. Yes, my wife and I created a company called Yeah That Rabbit. It is our love letter to Greenville, and I'm going to get into that in a second, but I need to address the fact that when I first pitched this talk, it was called Teach Them Well and Let Them Lead the Way. Whitney Houston, right? Fantastic song. But then I realized Barry and I talked that I was going to be paired with Enoch, and they have that mentoring thing down cold. So I did what I normally do and just took a hard left into Sean land. And we're going to talk a little bit about mentoring from the angle of these two lunatics. So Yeah That Rabbit, that is Lefty the Rabbit. That is in my wife's armpit because I couldn't come up with a better place to put it in the photo. Lefty the Rabbit is our sort of mascot for Greenville. I don't know if you can tell by looking at us or, the stuff in my office. We're not live, laugh, love folks. We're more like Kisses, I love it loud folks. But we also really love this city. We moved here 4 years ago and absolutely fell in love with it. And we wanted to create merch to celebrate that love. But we're not live, laugh, love. We're, again, metalheads, punk rockers, Gen Xers. And we went through the GVL Starts program, came up with the Yeah That Rabbit idea from there, and launched the site. If you go to yeahthatrabbit.com, you can take a look at it. Pat's actually rocking the version of this shirt that I'm wearing that you can buy. And when we first launched it, we had a little bit of an identity crisis. Because again, we're sort of weirdos and we're trying to sell shirts to everybody, and we weren't really sure the angle we wanted to take. But that's when we went to Folly Beach and we saw this. This is wonderful graffiti that just says suck less with a heart. And if you've been wondering what my shirt says, it says suck less. And the ultimate goal for Yeah That Rabbit is to be aggressively positive. So you take things that are sort of uplifting sayings. My wife has a bunch of them. We have not put them all into stickers or shirts yet, but they're things like, you look beautiful today, in the most death metal font you can possibly think of. And that's when I say, I take the hard left turn sort of into Sean land. This is where I come from with everything. And so when I was thinking about mentoring and I was thinking about how I teach and how I approach folks and how I just sort of deal with everyday life, I realized that when we're looking at things in the tech industry, it has changed drastically. There are a lot of graybeards out there, like me, that I'm sure we've been in front of computers since forever at this point. I've actually lost track of the years. I think I got my first Epson 8088 somewhere around 1982. Right? So I've been doing this a while, but I teach and I see all kinds of people coming in from all kinds of other backgrounds, and they don't have that background. They don't have that history. And technology has changed, and it used to be we would go to conferences like this, and it was a bunch of people who were all super pale because we really just came out of the basement, and we haven't seen light in a while. But if you worked in tech, and if you've seen what's happened in the last 10, 15, 20 years, what we're noticing is that it's not just people that look like me. It's not just the basement dwellers that come out. And I'll be honest, some of us basement dwellers, and I say that with love because I am one of you, we don't do a great job of welcoming those other people in. And this is where we need to suck less. It's possible that when you saw this and you saw me wearing a shirt, suck less, and talk about mentoring, you're like, yeah, those junior developers, they really need to suck less. If that's what you thought, then this talk is 100% for you. And if that's what you thought, you definitely don't know me, because I'm absolutely an advocate for the people that are coming in from the outside that weren't there. The best part of this job, the best part of being a developer, I would do it even if I didn't get paid to do it, because it's just something I really enjoy. And one of the best parts about my job as a teacher is I get to share that with everybody else. I've got 3 students and a teaching assistant, 4 students, Santi just walked up, 4 students and a teaching assistant that just came up here. And every day I have the privilege of sitting down with them and saying, hey, you want to see something cool? And I feel like a wizard at Hogwarts. And then I get to go to them and say, look, now you do it. Here's this, go, do this, go break some stuff. And they do, and then they feel like wizards. And then they carry that on. And it's a thing that me, circa 1992, sitting in front of a computer, trying to figure out why I couldn't crack my copy of Wizardry so I could put it on a disc, just because I wanted to put it on a disc. How many people ever played Wizardry? Does anybody here know Wizardry? You're really gonna date yourself. You're like, I remember the proving grounds of the Mad Overlord. Fantastic game, it's the last video game I ever played. Because when I realized I couldn't copy it, I learned I needed to learn how to program. And then it was me by myself. We had a few Apple IIe's in school. I was on the yearbook staff because it was the only opportunity I had to do something on the computer. And also I was the only person there that wanted to do it. The one time I went to a summer camp, I went to a yearbook camp, and it was computer class. And I went the first day and I went, I know more than you, and I full on Ron Swanson'd it, and I just never went back to that class, and I played the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, my second favorite video game, at Georgia Tech campus. But now we look around, and between the phones in our pockets, the watches on our wrists, the computers that are in front of us, what we find is that if you polled this room, this is the Carolina Code Conference, and the number of people who come into this that don't have tech backgrounds is fascinating. And it's up to those of us that have been in this field forever to open those doors that weren't open for us. And sometimes, and this is a thing that we have in punk rock land that really pisses me off. Anybody ever had that band and then find out that somebody else likes the band and then you go, oh, that sucks. I liked them before they were popular. Man, I was totally that guy. You want to talk about Metallica's Black Album in 1993, you'll talk about just raging asshole. That was me. And instead of celebrating the fact that like, oh man, here is this music that in some cases has saved my life, and now other people are tapping into that, and we should be excited about that. Now, 49-year-old Sean, you come up and you ask me about my favorite band. I'm like, hey, you've heard this album by Ghost, and I'm gonna talk your ear off, and I'm gonna try to make you the second biggest Ghost fan because, well, there's only room for me at the top. Because I'm gonna try to invite you in, because now what I've learned that I've hit this point and that I've worked with so many people that are new in this field, that it's better to celebrate and be excited when somebody wants to get into it rather than protecting it. If anything else with technology, what we've learned is it is infinitely replicable. Software in particular, infinitely replicable. You don't gain anything by keeping all your stuff in your head. Now, interestingly, we all know this, right? That's how we got Linux, that's how we got Android, that's how we got most of this stuff, that's how we got the entire internet, because it's all built on open source. So we're so used to sharing, and we're used to sharing with people on the other side of a screen, but then we hire somebody to come into our company and they're brand new, and their syntax is a little off, or their tabs and your spaces, or vice versa. And you just want to tear into them. And you want to say, this is, why do you suck? And honestly, this is where I'm being a little convicted. I'm convicting, I don't know, words are hard, and I was up till 4 a.m. If your first thought when you're working with somebody brand new is, stupid newbie, why do you suck? You need to pull that back at yourself and realize that we all need to suck less. And that's what being aggressively positive, I'm checking the time here. That's what being aggressively positive is. We live in the coolest time in history. I know it sort of feels like we're living through the 1970s again. I was only 5 when they ended, so I don't really know what they were like. But we live in one of the most amazing times in history, and we have all of these opportunities to just share really interesting, cool things with everybody. And we have the audience that is willing to listen. Stinking badges was a half of an idea. It was a half an idea of a thing that I built for Next Gen, and Barry posted that he needed something for badges. And I was like, hey, Barry, I have a half of an idea. And he said, cool. We went and we met at Methodical and we talked about it. And he's like, can we add this? And I was like, cool, that'll make it a little more than half of an idea. And then I got to spend the time working on it and working on a lot of different things that I had never considered before. And that just came from a conversation because Barry opened a door. Because Barry threw a question out there and said, hey, I need this. And my brain went, oh, I have something like that. So let me just go give this thing to Barry. And now out of this, it's going to end up turning into who knows what, right? It may end up being an app, but maybe a fun thing that I tell at the next Carolina Code Conference when I talk about stinking badges. If anybody here knows the folks at GVL Starts, if you know Brian at the Hill Institute, he's walking around here, his office is back there. The folks with that program are fantastic about just giving away information, giving away help. A weird sort of thing that I learned is selfishly, the more I give away, the more I get back. And when I think back on my life and I think about the people that I ran into that were the gatekeepers, the people that need to suck less, those people really weren't interested in giving back because they wanted to hoard. We've all seen Lord of the Rings, right? That's another way that we know that nerds have taken over, because we've all seen Lord of the Rings, right? Gollum's not the hero, and yet we all acted like he was for a very, very long time. And now we don't have to. And we can share stuff, and when doors open, what you see is that you end up getting more back. And now this has turned into a Sunday sermon, which is fairly ironic if you know the sort of heathen that I am. And so I don't necessarily mean to go down that road too much. From that graffiti came this design. My wife did this design. She's an amazing artist. Shameless plug for her. She is one of the finalists from Flat Out Under Pressure. So when you're walking around downtown Greenville next year, she will have a couple of pieces of artwork on the recycling bins, which is a really interesting place to have art. She also is going to be part of a show at Good Art Co. She's got a piece on display there. My wife, probably more so than anybody, embraces suck less, and this is why it resonated with her so hard. And this is why she wanted to put it on a shirt and put it on stickers and get this message far and wide. And it's why when I had the opportunity to give this talk and do Sean's spin on mentoring, I said, this has to be a suck less talk. This has to be that message, that aggressively positive, open, inviting, friendly message. That's what this has to be. That's the goal of Yeah That Rabbit. That's why Yeah That Rabbit sponsored this, to give people the opportunity to be able to come. That's our goal here in Greenville. That's our goal as far as we can go. If Suck Less ends up on the side of a bus in the UK one day, man, that would be so cool. And it doesn't matter if we sold the sticker or gave it away. Side note, forgot to bring stickers, because I'll bring them tomorrow and I will give them away. So if you want some Suck Less stickers, come and see me tomorrow. This is a fun thing to put on a shirt. It's a fun thing to have somebody come up and stare at it, because if you know anything about death metal bands, it sometimes seems like they're a contest to see who can make them the most unreadable, which is also directly proportionate to the quality of the band sometimes. The more unreadable the logo, the more unlistenable the album might be. So this resonated, this hit a spot with Jen and it hit a spot with me. And I'm gonna wrap it up with this last thing. And I'm gonna try to not get choked up, because as my students know, when I talk about Mr. Rogers, I get choked up. I grew up in Pittsburgh. Mr. Rogers' studio was about 5 miles from the house I grew up in. For me growing up, Mr. Rogers' neighborhood was literally my neighborhood. I didn't realize other kids had Mr. Rogers until I moved to Georgia, and Mr. Rogers was on the TV down there. And I was like, wait, what? You have him? Well, man, y'all are lucky. He was my neighbor. And I mention this in class a lot, and it's something that I try to tell all of the students, and I tell them to do. Now that you have these abilities, you have these superpowers, you know now how to cast spells, your job is to go out and do that and share that with everybody else. And I'm gonna be watching you, because I am the aggro Mr. Rogers who is going to be in your face going, look how fucking cool this is. Mr. Rogers is pretty aggro in his own right. If you go and see some of the videos on YouTube, that guy. Still haven't watched the Tom Hanks movie. I can't make it through. I can't make it through the trailer without losing it. So the next time you find yourself in a situation where you're frustrated because just, shit's happening, life is happening, work is going on, deadlines are being missed, you hired somebody new onto the team and they're not up to speed with where you are, what I want you to stop and think is, what would Mr. Rogers yell in your ear? And it would be something like, suck less. We all deal with stuff. We're all fighting with things. Work sucks sometimes. Sometimes we don't have enough sleep. Ask all these guys about demo day. But it doesn't mean that we get to be mean. So the whole point of this talk is just, hey, be nice. It's not technical. I'm not going down any rabbit holes. You're not going to be able to hack into any Gibsons. But if you be nice, give stuff away, you'll get a ton of stuff back, and we'll all be better off, and our industries will all be better off for it in the long run. And that's my preaching.